Good afternoon, everyone. We are live right here on Facebook on CBS New York because I want to take you into a fantastic place here in New York City, Fraunces Tavern. Alex, I'm so glad you're coming along.
Thank you for having me. Mary's taking us on a field trip to all these hidden gems. You know, she's done all this research about George Washington, and it's all in her debut novel. We're so proud of her.
A young George Washington, so much to tell you. So let's take a walk inside and we can show you around. There's some hidden secrets in this place that you'll be amazed to hear about. So let's walk in. This place has been here.
And hey guys, ask some questions. Hi Jackie, you've people joining you.
Hello Jackie.
And I'll make sure that Mary hears your questions as well.
And I can't wait to tell you about Samuel Fraunces. He's really a fascinating character in history, and I'll tell you why. So come on in.
Hi Annette.
And this is a fabulous tavern, restaurant, and a museum as well. So if you haven't been here, I say come on in and take a look. So here we are. We're going into the whiskey bar. Are you ready? We are going to toast George Washington. We're going to taste a presidential punch, I hear. So come on in, and we'll talk some history as we go. Eddie Travers is the owner, and he's been so kind to be our host today. Alex is here with us as well, so you're joining us throughout the whole thing. So ask Alice questions too. And say hi to Barry Smith. He's the beverage director here at Fraunces Tavern. You're making us the drink.
I'm getting you drunk.
So come on in, let's talk.
With the plan.
Can we talk some history? Because I did a bunch of research for years about a young George Washington, and this place is just so full of history when it comes to America's first president.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what would you like to know?
Tell us from the beginning. George Washington and the gentleman here, Sam Fraunces, became quite close. There was this incredible story about a possible assassination plot against George Washington.
Yes.
And as the story goes, it was Sam Fraunces' daughter that may have prevented it?
Yes, that is true. We'll stand by that one, all right?
So tell us a little bit about that, because I hear it's about maybe some poison peas.
Basically, when Washington was here having dinner, as he did on many occasions, it was Washington's daughter who came across potential poisoning.
Fraunces' daughter,
Fraunces' daughter, and she stopped George from having a lethal bite, and as I said, that's our story, and we're sticking to it.
A lot of people say that they love that this is George Washington's hangout.
That's what's really neat. I mean, did you know there was a George Washington haunt right here in Lower Manhattan? You really have to stop in and see it, and there's history throughout this place. So tell us a little bit about how Washington stepped foot in here. You know, people come through here, don't even realize how much history is in these walls.
Sure. Like at the time when Samuel Fraunces, he bought the building off the Delancey family for £2,000, which was a huge amount of money at the time. But so he set up a tavern here, and this was the centre of New York, really, in downtown. And the Sons of Liberty used to come in here and frequent and plot against the British.
Maybe we should say that a cannonball also came through here.
Yes,
related to Alexander Hamilton,
yes,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
When Alexander Hamilton, they confiscated some cannons, right, from the British, and retaliation, the Brits fired upon this place, and Sam Fraunces was okay with it because he was on their side throughout the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. And Samuel Fraunces, he was both serving them and plotting against them, I guess, at the same time.
Fascinating.
You know, and as I was saying earlier on, he used to sneak food out of the back of the restaurant over to the prison ships that were in the harbour there. That they used to house American prisoners who were starving on the boats. So he took his food from the restaurant and brought it over to him. So that was his act of rebellion.
As we continue
to
talk,
have some history buffs. I don't mean to interrupt you, but people are chiming in. You've got a lot of people watching. Gregory knows that this is the place where Washington gave his farewell address to some troops as well.
Yes.
And shed a tear as well. And if you go on our website, there's more. An author who spoke in regard to that, Craig Bruce Smith. I had the pleasure of interviewing him, and he wrote the book American Honor. He actually spoke right here at Fraunces Tavern. I had a chance to see his book talk, and he talks about the revolution and the reason behind it being more about honor than about a taxation on tea. So that's really a fascinating moment where George Washington had an emotional moment and cried here in Fraunces Tavern.
Sure.
So go ahead, keep talking, Greg. We really want to talk about
I'm just
history.
going to show a little bit of the room too, because people are saying that they love everything that you have, all the artifacts here as well. So
This is a spectacular place.
Yes.
And Barry, I understand you're going to help us make a drink from the
I am.
George Washington time, a presidential punch, is
Yeah,
it?
so when it came to creating a signature punch for the bar, we wanted to kind of, look back to them, to the history of the founding fathers, and what they were about. It was definitely a time where I think the average person was drinking a couple of gallons of alcohol a year.
Really?
Because it was cleaner than water.
Yeah, that's right. Some people, when they woke up in the morning, had ale.
Yeah.
So okay. So what's in the drink?
So
we're so excited about this.
We pre-batched this. What we have in here is a rye whiskey, because rye whiskey, George Washington used to make his own rye whiskey.
Had a distillery.
Yeah, had a distillery out in Mount Vernon. Yeah. So we make this with rye whiskey. We make it with black tea. We've got peaches in here because a lot of the founding fathers were farmers and made their own, produced their own fruit. We've got a black rum syrup, because the dark rum obviously would have been a very big part of those days of drinking culture. And we mix it all together with some orange curacao. What I do then is, this is our batch. I add our own kind of house-made lemonade. We add about an ounce of that in there.
people say that they're going to drink this while they're reading the book.
Yeah.
So we're at Fraunces Tavern for everyone that's joining us. They wanted just a little bit of a reminder as to where they were, because people are loving it.
Fraunces Tavern has so much history, and it was built in the 1700s, and George Washington stepped foot in here if you're just joining us now. And there's so much history in regard to George Washington.
It's actually 300 years old this year.
Incredible, 300. We've got some celebrating to do then, for sure.
Absolutely.
And it was in the museum upstairs, and Alex was with me. And Alex, you can chime in. We got to see an amazing portrait of George Washington, but in that collection from John Ward Dusmore is a painting of a woman named Mary Philipse, and that is the basis of my novel, is the relationship between Mary Eliza Philipse and George Washington. She was the richest woman in colonial America at the time, and I just kept doing the research and found this incredible theory of love, deception, and vengeance in regard to a young George Washington and this New York heiress. So let's drink.
This is the noisy part. I'm just going to shake this up.
Okay.
Okay.
People want to know, how often did George come? Do you guys have any records of how often he was here?
Not as such, but I do know that he had a few good nights in the tavern here. So,
And that moment of the farewell address with his troops was just such an essential moment in time.
Sure.
So the key ingredient to cocktails in general is the garnish.
Yes.
Tops it off. We went for nutmeg, big spice at the time. Freshly grated nutmeg on top. Okay. Put that back in there, and you are ready to go.
All right.
Presidential punch.
Oh, fantastic.
Good luck.
Well, is it just me drinking? Okay, well, I'm going to taste it.
Well, I'll start
Well,
making
cheers.
one for
Okay. Okay, well, we're going to wait on this just because we want to do a whole toast together. So, Alex, a lot of people have been asking questions about Fraunces, and just add them. You could toss them out to us. Anything you'd like to ask, we'd love to answer them. Tell me a little bit about that moment in 1783 that you know of, the farewell.
with regards to the farewell,
What do we know of that moment?
yeah, just that it was obviously like a huge occasion, and I guess I understand, where he was coming from, where he shed a tear, because, in order for him to become president of the United States, he obviously had to relinquish the control of the army, and he'd been through so many battles with these guys, so it was. I'm pretty sure it was a tough time for all.
You know what I wanted to ask you about the cuisine of the time. At writing a novel, I needed to find out what foods people ate, and I was amazed at how much there was to go with. And I know you make a number of dishes here. There was
Sure.
a stew I remember
Yes,
trying out.
correct.
Because what I think was important is that most people don't know, in the 1700s in New York, there was a lot of life happening right here in this
Sure.
area on the southern tip of Manhattan, as they referred to it then.
Sure.
And cuisine was a big part of it.
Absolutely. It was because there was no cold storage. Everything had to be seasonal. You know what I mean? So, and it would have to be pretty local to New York. Although, of course, there was it is a port, and there was herbs and spices coming from all over the world.
I
as
heard
well,
they had
as
great
well.
oysters
Oh,
right
great-
here.
great
Yeah.
oyster. We actually found an oyster in our foundation. We were doing some work on the foundation walls, and we found some oyster shells. And
Oh.
when I tell you they were big, these things were about
No
that
kidding.
size, were
I wonder
huge.
what year those were from.
They would have been from around that time. Even before that, there was stories where there were so many oysters in the harbour around here that you could walk
fantastic.
from here over to Long Island on these oysters.
People
No
want to
way.
know, is the place haunted?
Oh,
It actually is haunted, and we've had numerous experts come in, and it is haunted, and our nighttime porters will attest to that, as in in our Bissell room. There has been occasions where they've our staff have heard like there was a party going on. You know what I mean? And they got a bit spooked about it in the beginning, but now it's just something that it happens. And
really?
Yeah.
It just happens.
Yeah.
All right, well, a toast to the new year and to Fraunces Tavern, and
Cheers.
congratulations on your tavern down the street.
Thank you very much.
Another historic location,
yes.
and if you're going to be by the area, you have to stop in. You have to tell us a little bit about that. Lisa, I know Lisa has a drink for us. She's going to bring a special one over. Will you join us in this
Yes.
taste? So tell us what this one is.
This is the apple wassail.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
and we
lovely.
serve it at our new tavern, the Lovelace Tavern.
Oh,
it's right down the
wonderful.
street. It's lovely. We have live jazz most nights. It's a great hot apple cider to drink in the winter.
All right.
And,
Well, will you have that with us while we have this?
absolutely. Thank you very much.
Well, a toast to all of you, and thank
Thank
you
you.
so much
Toast.
for giving us the invite to come over and say hello. Barry, thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
But before you go, people are really asking a lot, Mary, about where they can get your book. Do you have a website that they can go to?
Oh, sure. Thank you, everyone. That's so sweet. Dear George, Dear Mary publishes February 19th, and you can get it anywhere books are sold. And there's a...
Convenient. President's Day?
Yeah, right, yes. It's releasing February 19th, right after President's Day, and there's an audiobook, and it's fabulous to hear George Washington and hear Mary Eliza Philipse speaking. So all of that's available, and there'll be a number of talks, too, in the area. So I hope you all can come by and say hello and toast with us. Thank you so much.
Congratulations to you. And
Thank
best of
you.
luck.
And all the best to you as well with the new tavern opening as well. So I don't want to go, if anybody has any more questions, I'm just here to answer.
Yeah, people want to know, do you know why Fraunces Tavern was the place that he gave his final address, meaning George Washington? And people are concerned that I don't have a drink. Don't you worry.
Well,
I
you
think
better-
there'll be another one.
Yes, and
right here.
Alex,
So,
why
don't
don't
you
you're
worry,
gonna have
I'm
to
here.
you're gonna have to come around and join us too. Come on around so you can talk to us.
well, it's okay. You guys are doing good.
But I guess he chose here because of the friendship that he built up with Samuel Fraunces.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like for whether the poisoning story was true or not, but definitely, as I said, the feeding of the starving prisoners was really showed who Samuel's allegiance was to. And plus, you know, we've found a lot of mentions about the amazing meals that were had by the revolutionaries in Fraunces Tavern. So I guess it was the heart or maybe it was the belly that was led to this.
And sometimes both were.
Yes, exactly. There was no Facebook or Yelp at the time, so I
Yes.
guess he had to go on what he knew.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So people are asking, are you implying that George cheated on Martha? So no. Talk
So
about the date.
fascinating. The research started when I looked at Mary Eliza Philipse. And so this would have been George Washington before Martha Washington. This was George in his early 20s, and he met her in 1756. There are records that indicate he came to New York on February 14th, 1756. It was really fabulous, and he spent about a month here and then left and then came back again. And what an incredible 3 years of time. These are 3 years in George Washington's life that have been quite inconsistent. You know, historians have long said he was kind of raw and unmannerly at this time. But when you put this woman into the narrative, Mary Philipse into the narrative, you really find an incredible full story of maybe what happened here. And that was quite sensational, really, for me to find. And a number of the documents were found right here in New York City at New York Historical Society, New York Public Library, Morris Jumel, Fraunces Tavern. So it was really quite fascinating to do the research and then write a book.
which you did so beautifully. By the way,
Thank
'cause
you.
I have had a chance to read it. Thank you very much. They also would like to know if you will share the recipes of the drinks, what you can and what you have. Is that something they can share?
Absolutely. Barry will take care of that.
I want you to tell me everything right now. No. As long as. What kind of historical documents did you see, Mary, as you were doing your research?
So one of the historical documents that I looked at was a love letter that George Washington had written, and forever people have thought that this love letter was written to a woman, and it was, but this woman was his best friend's wife, and so people long thought that George was in love with his best friend's wife. And this document I found at Harvard University, and I believe that the letter has been misinterpreted all these years. While it's written to this woman, I believe it was about Mary Eliza Philipse. So that's one of the documents that I used, but I went through
Mary, how many years? You spent years.
Years. It was over 3 years of research and writing that went into it. So sometimes you need to spend a lot of time in order to get the product that you're hoping for. So I hope everybody enjoys it.
How did you even know where to find these documents? How did you know where to begin?
I started at her mansions, which still exists, Morris Jumel Mansion in Phillips Manor in Yonkers. So I started there, and from there it just exploded. It was quite incredible because so many of the documents are digitally archived. So now it's a lot easier to find these digital archives, and then those were able to take me to the physical archives. So a number of the documents came from different libraries, from some documents from London, some documents from California, and then I brought it all together to find this incredible story. I'm just amazed by the whole thing. So thank you, everybody. So nice to see you. Alex, you have to come around. Your drink is waiting. So there we go.
Don't worry.
You have been so
thinking about me.
Oh, of course. Here it is. It's coming.
Taking
Finally.
care of friends taking care of friends.
It's a really gorgeous location, isn't it? Though
It is.
I mean,
It's
really,
stunning.
just incredible.
Yeah.
And this room itself has you've done a lot of work to create this ambiance.
Yes, when we took it over in 2010, and it used to be a coat check. So being Irish, we seen it'd be more important for us to sell booze in this area as opposed to hang coats.
You know, we should add that George Washington had his own distillery.
Yes, absolutely. We actually have our own distillery in Ireland as well, which we distill our own Dingle whiskey, gin and vodka.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Yes.
All right, a toast to all of you.
Okay, cheers. Well,
Cheers,
you're
then.
empty-handed. So
Thank you.
put your man to work. And Happy New Year to everyone, right?
Happy New
Thanks
Year.
for
See you
joining
soon.
us.